worked out really well.
So we're gonna continue that trend. And if you haven't taken a look yet, I've rebuilt the website. We'll review that here shortly. And the video from last meeting is posted to the website, so that's available for everybody's review. While we wait for Bill to join us and establish quorum, we'll just have our open floor for the community now. So it's an opportunity for the community to kind of pose questions, concerns, issues for us to kind of take back as board of directors to address for the community at large.
Well, I hadn't spoken with you in quite a while. Last time you and I spoke, you were gonna look into some stuff and you were gonna get back with me, and I haven't ever heard anything.
Yes, so the issue, the concern of question is the use of our funds, the HOA funds, to maintain private property that's adjacent to the lakes. So the concern had been that community members at large, we had ruled maybe, I want to say back in March, that we as an HOA weren't gonna promote the use of the community at large utilizing private property that's adjacent to the lakes for fishing. And it had been brought to my attention after that, that the HOA has been paying as part of its maintenance for the community to maintain some of that land that was private property. I had talked to Bob about it. And there's two schools of thought. I, like you, I have a tough time buying into the idea that the HOA should be responsible for maintaining private property if the community at large don't have the privilege to utilize that land. I think that that's right and fair. Conversely, there's been a long-standing practice of doing this, right? And to then stop doing that runs into a couple of challenges. At the time, I talked to Bob about approaching the homeowners to see if they were interested in providing that opportunity for the community to be able to access that land since the HOA is paying to maintain it. We kind of didn't take it any further than that. I did talk to our lawyer in terms of the legality of that, the answer to which I don't have available immediately to reference.
Well, I mean, I'm beating a dead horse if I try to hash out the definitions and stuff, but
yeah.
I mean, how can you call out the cul-de-sacs as common area and eliminate the lakes and easements all in the same sentence? They're all in the same sentence. And the legalities is neither here nor there.
Okay.
And the other thing that I wanted to bring up, I'm a perception as a reality kind of guy. You're in the military, your perception is reality. I'm sure it's the same way. If we're not allowed to have signs, why do we have 50 billion Food Truck Friday signs up and down the neighborhood and one hidden, we're having a meeting tonight sign?
We will try to be better about not hiding the signs. So I will offer you this.
Hiding?
Huh?
You think they were hidden?
Well, it's just one sign right at the head of the neighborhood. It's easy to forget, but they make sure they let you know about the Food Truck Friday.
Well, I don't put up the Food Truck Friday signs.
That's not intentional. So Gino is responsible for putting out the HOA meeting signs. I think if not you, then somebody, okay. Jim puts out the Food Truck Friday signs. And the Food Truck Friday, that is for the Cunningham,
Everybody.
Okay.
660 homes in Wright.
Okay, but specifically for your association.
Right. That is the
My perspective on this as a board member, the CC&R is clear that as homeowners, we don't have the right or privilege to put up signs. That is a violation of the CC&R. It does not indicate that the HOA can now put up signs. The HOA is not a homeowner in and of itself. As board members, we are part of the HOA and we represent the community's interests and needs, but I don't think it's fair to say, well, because a homeowner can't, the HOA can't. That's not accurate.
I mean, like, if I wanted to put, there's no soliciting sign at the head of the neighborhood, and I don't care if you put 500 of them, it's not gonna stop solicitors, because there's no law that prohibits that.
Yeah.
But I could put no trespassing sign in my yard, and then they would be breaking the law if they come in my yard.
I think that's something we need to put on our radar, that no soliciting sign, because I'm not a fan of that, but neither here nor there.
I'm sorry, I didn't come to disrupt. I'm just throwing out a few
We've never
things.
actually talked about the no soliciting sign, but again, neither here nor there. The no trespassing, and I get that this is a issue of contention, and I don't have a good answer. So I think specifically your challenge is the signs of the lake, is that accurate?
That's right.
Okay. Here's what I think we need to start with. There are definitely some signs at the lake that are homeowner signs that need to be addressed. And the CCR is very clear in the fact that as homeowners, we don't have the right or authority or privilege to put up signs. So if we've identified who those homeowners are,
I was gonna say,
let's just send them letters.
do you know who?
Are you talking about the old metal signs that have concrete in them that they were put out years and years ago and some of them were there?
Cunningham Creek, right? on the
Yeah,
front
I don't think the
did.
homeowner, personal
Debbie
homeowners
West.
put that out. I
Debbie
think
West did.
Well,
no,
let's-
she
let's-
would not have put them out
Okay,
to everybody.
here's what I've got for this.
Yeah.
At some point within the next, I don't know, month or two, let's you and me take a look at the entire community. We'll figure out which signs are ours as the HOA, which signs are not, and then we'll address the signs that are not ours. Or if, because I know we've talked about this in the past in regards to the signs that need to be replaced because they're damaged or falling apart. We'll address then what the way forward is in regards to those signs.
I think there are a couple on the back fence on Nottingham facing out the lake. I can see them when we go there because they're red. They're not.
Bob's got one.
Bob has one on his.
Bob, I don't know what his name is.
Oh, I know who you're talking
Lives right there right across
On the
from
backside,
Cunningham-
yeah.
Cunningham Creek Elementary.
Yeah.
But see, there's even one on Tiger Creek between Bay Point and Lake Cunningham,
Right.
up in the hidden
Yeah.
in there,
that
so
one's-
it wasn't a homeowner that
Right.
put it out there. I think the association or something before, I don't even know when this happened, they bought them and they had them installed.
Yeah, I think it was
I
also
had-
to keep people from, that are going down Roberts, just pull in and start fishing on the
I
lake.
understand
Yeah.
that, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think anybody outside of our neighborhood should be able to do anything.
Right.
But I've never paid attention to those signs.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly when they went up. I know it was around the time that Debbie West was on the board.
Yeah.
And that was, my contention was those signs, because when Bruce called me out for fishing out there one time, he was going, you can't be trespassing, those trespassing signs don't mean anything to me. You know, that's like me putting a no trespassing
Right.
sign in my yard and telling my wife she can't come in the house. You know, it's the same thing. But one other point that I wanted to bring up, and the reason I'm even here tonight is because I've waited and waited and waited. I feel like this should have been long ago taken care of. Something as trivial as this. But the Cunningham Creek Association website or Facebook page is a fishing friendly Facebook page. If you look at it, it makes it look like we're a fishing friendly community.
Are you talking about that one that
You're talking
Abigail hosts, or the?
Yeah, there's like 500 members in it, 450 members.
Yeah, there is one, I think I know what you're talking about. So Abigail McKendrick is the administrator for the Cunningham Creek residents, which is non-HOA related, but yeah, so there's been a few times she's changed that background based on people's wonderful pictures they've taken of the sunset and stuff like that, but yeah, so Abigail has no ties to the HOA
Okay.
or, you know,
Yeah.
it's
I'm
not.
It's just I'm a perception of reality. kind of
Well,
guy.
I think.
I'm not,
Yeah.
I just started Facebook
Right.
because I had to get Facebook back because my son's out of the country and that's how we communicate.
Right,
And
right.
so,
There is a board,
Right.
CCPOA, that has the links to the board related stuff, AGL covenants and stuff like
Right,
that.
yeah.
But you have to prove that you are a resident before you can go onto that site.
on Facebook,
Yes.
Yeah, the one, even the one Abigail.
You have to
runs,
put in your
three.
address, and then they have to look up to see if you're a property owner or a
Is
rental.
it one of these three? Is that one? Oh, no, that's one.
Hooters, you like Hooters?
It's this
Just
one, right,
kidding.
with the sunset and
That's
the lake?
the one,
No.
that's the one I was just speaking
No,
of. And then that one.
no, that's,
Well, that's not it either.
it's
That's-
this one right here,
I'm already a member of that one too. So that one's the official one?
yes, yes.
Okay.
And it has only things on here, it talks about the board related stuff, you won't see stuff on here about yard sales or anything like that.
Okay.
Anything that's official.
Alright. That's all I had. Like I said, the only reason I came here tonight was because I didn't have emails. I could have called her or emailed her, but I was like, I saw the sign yesterday and I was like, well, I'll go by there. So,
We had a lot of people here last time.
Yeah.
And I appreciate people coming, and I think that we get better as a community when we individually voice our concerns and perceptions, and I think there's value to that. So I hope that you continue to come, and I hope that if you continue to have concerns, that you make them known. We as a board can't make the community better if we don't hear the concerns and issues that homeowners independently have. So thank you.
I think it just comes down to, at this point, since we don't have a decision, if you have if you have permission to fish on someone's property, no one around them can tell you can't fish on their property.
That's
So if you wanna fish on that Tiger Creek right there, that long one, you can see Tim on Bay Point, is that right, Bay Hollow? Tim at the end of the street, he has that lot that goes all the way down to Nottingham, and he doesn't care. He just has a lot of dogs, that's about it, but he doesn't care. He's
Just
my
take you a
neighbor. He's
public
super-
sack and just say, I'm picking up trash, I'm helping out my
He
community."
probably would be like, if you pick up some trash, you can fish here all
I
you
haven't
want.
lived here since 2001,
Yeah.
and my daughters grew up fishing in that lake. My
Oh, yeah.
sons grew up fishing in that lake, and it just funny that I went out there and Bruce has been here 2 years, and that just shows you how often I fish out there.
Yeah.
And Bruce was here 2 years, and that was the day that he came unglued, and, he just sent me like a rocket right up into space, and I was like, no, not having it. And so,
Yeah.
meanwhile, he's, in my opinion, never mind, I'm not saying anything, I didn't come here for that. I didn't. So, but that's all, I just want it settled. I want somebody to make a decision, because the other alternative is for me to go out there and some homeowner sue me, and then we have to fight it out that way, which I feel like I would win.
Right.
Because of the way the covenants are written, or me to take the board up and sue the board for civil rights and, whatever. In which case, it would be iffy, because, a civil rights lawyer's not gonna take something like that, so. I just want an answer, I can't fathom why we can't come up with an answer,
What answer are you looking for?
that we are allowed to use the lakes.
The answer is that you are allowed to use the lakes, but we as an HOA are not gonna endorse or promote your use of private property to access the lakes.
That's the problem.
It's-
They're
That's,
private
and
property.
I'll tell you, scope out, big picture, I think the challenge is if we had like a dock or a pier or something, private property, not private property, common land, common property that homeowners could use to access the lake, that would solve the problem.
But
I don't know that
it
there's.
says that is common area. The lake is common area, and
The lake
it
is,
says,
and
it
we
says the
agree
easements are as well.
that
It's all in the same sentence.
Yeah, the easement is going down, it's the area that, the guy who does the lakes uses. So if you stand on that part, which is common ground and an easement, you can fish there, but you can't go in anybody else's yard.
The easement goes all the way around the lake, though. There's 15-foot easement all the way around the whole lake.
regardless of the classification of those specific easements around the lake, we as an HOA won't promote or endorse the use of private property for homeowner access, other than the homeowner that owns that private property.
But that goes back to, you already know where my expectations are. right there along Tiger Creek, where the HOA maintains, right there along Roberts Road.
And I
The
concur
HOA
with the
maintains.
challenge that, well, if the HOA is maintaining that property, so here's what I think. And the board, we as a board have not really discussed this at large, I think we brought it up in passing at the meeting, and then I talked to Bob about it privately. So the board, so the HOA maintaining that property, and we're talking about landscaping really, the maintenance being landscaping, does not make it common land, does not make it so that, well, if the HOA maintains it, then everybody, it's not synonymous. in
Then
that
put up a
sense.
bunch of no trespassing signs telling me I can't fish there, and then I'll have some way of some recourse.
I'm sorry.
That's all I'm saying. Just, either make a decision, put up a bunch of signs forbidding me from even touching the lake, or telling me I can touch the lake. One or the other.
I don't think we wanna be in the business of putting up a bunch of signs.
Well, we can't because we don't own it. We don't own that land, and the attorney, from what I can recall, the attorney was saying the HOAs are not in the business of enforcing, rights
use or
on
not use
private
of private property, yeah,
private
that I
property,
concur
right.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people out there fishing over the last couple of weeks, and, I hadn't seen people out yelling and screaming, but of course, I'm not sitting there watching them the whole time they're fishing, I just drive by.
With Bill here, I want to push forward the agenda. We now have 4, that's enough to establish a quorum, and I'm gonna call to order. At the close of our, agenda, we can readdress.
I'm sorry to stop.
So the president's report, I'll just give a quick update. We've made a lot of progress in terms of the website, which I'm gonna show you towards the end. We've made progress in terms of, TOPS 1, some of which we'll take a look at tonight. I think, had, been here tonight, we would talk about the art committee and some of the changes that we've made in that arena. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it. But by and large, I think we've made a lot of progress over the summer. Some of which I'm looking to close out before the end of the year. Our next meeting is going to be in October, that's when we're going to, close out the year and revote for officers and positions. And on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it over to James for the treasurer's report.
It's a pretty basic report, cash balance, 114,000, money markets, 236. Accounts receivables, 38,456.20. Got 9 payments on ARs in June. And, there is 12 accounts that make up 71% of the AR balance out of the many there. 24 accounts that appear to have yet to pay any of the 2019 assessment. And, the current late fee balance is $2,300, and the balance on the interest is $9,351. Overall on the budget, the bubbler project is coded to the lake contract expense account, and it's pushing it over the budget. So I don't know if we wanna move funds from there in the budget, or if we just, we're gonna be over on that.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is maintain, so we voted last meeting to, support financially the bubbler project, which, Bill is gonna talk to you here in a second, I hope. No, okay, he's not gonna.
I just know it sounded good.
Yeah. All right, we will look to get an update from the lake committee on that. But my goal as far as the budget is concerned is let's keep the budget as we established it when we last voted on it, and then we can kind of mark on an annual basis, hey, this is how, above or below the budget, so that we can better keep an analysis of trend, rather than just, knee-jerk reaction every time we move above or below the budget.
Yeah, that's just that one-time fee for $5,000. Other than that, the only other one that's really, there's the insurance is because of the timing. Light maintenance is over $800 for the whole year, so, yeah, it's $1,400 over for the whole year.
Are you talking about the marquee lights?
Strictly, it's on here as lights maintenance.
Cause I know there's 4 out.
We have budgeted $400 and we've already spent $1,600 for the year. So I have to dig into what was coded there.
What lights?
Like, a lot of times it's like the light bulbs or something like that, and Mona, I don't know, she sends in her receipts or anything, otherwise she's just been paying it out of her pocket,
Right.
but.
When you get a chance.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it wasn't in May's expense or June, so I don't know what it was. That's a big one, and then the brick wall repair for $1,200, we didn't have anything budgeted in miscellaneous maintenance, but I don't know if that brick wall was, what was the brick wall?
It was Village Green's wall, it fell
Was it
forward,
their sign though?
it was part of their sign,
Probably
but,
should have moved it to the signs repair,
yeah.
because we have $4,500 in there for the budget, so.
So,
So it's, I'm sorry, it's budgeted to,
Miscellaneous maintenance, 9580, and it should probably go 9220.
Okay.
And so that would still be under budget for that whole count. And then, I think that's about it. There are some that the timing, we spend a lot now, or we don't spend a lot till the end of the year, like mulch and stuff like that, so it's just a timing issue on the budget, otherwise everything's fine. That's it.
any questions for James?
Was the lights, new? Or is that new?
No, it's been in there, but I haven't had any expense.
That's one of the problems with the Christmas lights.
No, that's an entirely different nightmare.
Both
In
Village
fact,
Greens were out.
this October,
And
I'm gonna
then
put a note on the
the entrance of Tiger
agenda
Creek
to talk about
Parkway.
Christmas.
And then you said one by related.
And the challenge with those lights is the electrical out by the signs.
Right, we had the electrician out lots of times.
And that's one nightmare. And I'm a big fan of having Christmas lights, just because I like pretty things. But man.
That was a disaster.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah, and I think we're trying to fix a broken light with a Band-Aid, because I feel like every time we go out there, it's like we send an electrician to go fix an outlet, and the problem's clearly bigger than one outlet, or one issue than one electrical contractor.
Both the
apparently not
Village
fixed.
Green ones went out at the same time, so I'm thinking when they were working on the irrigation or something, they might have not turned the switch back on or off, I don't know. But I don't know if they're back on, if anyone's noticed, but it's probably been 2 weeks now.
Are we talking irrigation or lights?
Lights. So I don't know if it was connecting, like somebody might have flipped the switch, the breaker, to
Yeah.
work on the irrigation, but then forget to turn it back on for the lights. I don't know.
I got two checks here in April for a lamp and a sign and replacing a photo cell and a sign. I'm guessing, I don't know what, we might need to pull all of them and see what's in there, maybe all of these go to sign maintenance, if they're all sign related.
Light bulbs are usually like $7 each, and they're that special
This is
kind.
$175 and $158, so it's probably
Sure that some of
big
that is
bulb or maybe the socket diameter.
contractor coming out to do the
Yeah,
work
it's
too.
a single contractor, yeah.
Yeah, James, if you could work directly with Gina,
Yeah.
get some answers on that, and just let us know what you come up with. Anything else for the treasurer?
Were the roads covered under
Oh,
treasury?
The roads.
Yeah, like Tiger Creek Parkway? Is this like a dirt road now,
Yeah,
right?
it's bad. Yeah, we're hoping
That's
they would
our
make
only
that
way
turn.
in and out of the neighborhood.
Especially when you're on that.
You need to
Roberts
go
Road.
to the county website, it's called Pride, and you do a report, and they will write back to you, and you will get the answers.
Yeah, but I've been told the HOA's got the road.
No,
No.
Not Tiger Creek.
We
No.
don't own it, but there's no reason why one of us can't reach out and.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Raise
If
the
you,
flag
if you
on it.
type in Tiger Creek Parkway, you'll see that I've submitted it back a couple of hurricanes ago.
So it's
Yeah.
county.
And they're monitoring it, but it doesn't hurt for other people to
Yeah.
send in a report.
We're good with that. Okay, Lake Committee?
I just know the bubbler is installed, the money or it's working or not working.
Okay. For context, last meeting, we also approved for the Lake Committee to purchase a bubbler system to test the viability of reducing the algae within the lakes. And we're just looking for an update on that, so hoping to hear back from the Lake Committee in October, which I think will be enough time. There was some delay in terms of getting it installed, so I think between now and October, we should have a good idea as to how successful this system is. Website's done, that's neat. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly walk you through the changes to the website.
So we have nothing on landscape.
Oh, did I skip the landscaping?
You did.
I did, okay, not yet. You wanna give us an overview?
Sure, sure. All right, so last meeting, Landscape Committee proposed that they wanted to work around the entrances to all the different neighborhoods and just, they do need some upkeep and some updating. So we had approved the board a budget of $12,000. And now they have spent a lot of their own time working with the landscapers, looking at all of these different entrances and have come up with a plan. Now, the plan did come up a little bit over budget, but I think just to go ahead and get this done and get it looking really nice, I would like to motion that we approve this little extra amount that they need. So all in all, the landscape to do all the entrances would be $13,789. So that's $1,789 over. If we say no, then we're left with, what corners are gonna maybe not look, quite up to scale like the other ones. So I think from a consistency, the way that it's well thought out and planned out, it'd be a shame to kind of, shortchange it at this point. So.
What percentage of that are annuals and how much of that is perennials? Because, even if it's a bargain, it's not a bargain if we're gonna have to do a lot of replacement all the time.
Let's see. I see lantana. I see some sod. I see like removing of a sago palm. Let's see.
So.
Transplanting some Jack Frost.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right?
I don't see any annuals or perennials in the.
Well, some of those are most of what you said so far is perennials.
So to put this into context, last
Lantana.
meeting, we voted to change over the contractor that we use for landscaping. Can you give us some feedback in regards to the performance of the new contractor? North Florida, right?
Yeah, can't say that I've seen anything coming back and forth regarding feedback.
Okay.
No.
So I've seen a few things,
Okay.
and honestly, I'm impressed. The level of detail and the work that they've put in terms of providing us feedback, and even that small bit, has been very impressive from what I've seen. So I'm encouraged by that. We had an issue maybe about a month ago where the pipe to the irrigation disconnected. An issue that I think was, what's the pump company's name?
Partridge.
Partridge. I think Partridge is at fault for this issue. But North Florida, they must have been called, I think maybe you called them, Gina, and arrived and they addressed the issue and they closed the irrigation and that in my mind is phenomenal. And this is probably like 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, so it wasn't times where I would have expected them to be out doing mulching or whatever. So they were very responsive and that I appreciate a lot. We as the board gave the landscaping committee very clear guidance in terms of what their budget was. They had come to the meeting with a request of changing over the contractor and an additional, I wanna say 25,000 for spot maintenance for the year. And we voted to provide them 12. So, although I get the need, and the need is not inclusive of the irrigation repairs, which there are also needs for that as well. This 12,000 doesn't cover that, so we can expect to spend more in that regard as well. I want to send the message before we make this vote that when the board gives committees budgets that I need chairs to respect that. Please, Terry.
Okay, so when we voted on the new committee, the new landscape, we asked them for 2 proposals. One for maintenance and one for beautification. Well, the beautification came in really high, and for this year's budget was the remainder, this is what they gave us. So we had to go back to them and said, hey, this is what we wanna tackle. We wanna make the bed smaller, we wanna make it visible for cars pulling out, take out these bushes that are in the way. If you can reuse anything, that's wonderful. And the signs, you know, the bushes are above the signs, we want them below there. So those are the things that we told them we wanted to do. So for them to move bushes and make the bed smaller by adding sod, you know, this is what they came up as a overall for all the things, cause they might take the bushes from Bay Point and put them in Nottingham. So they kinda all connect together. That's why it came up a little higher than that, but by the time they gave us the feedback, it was a month later after they worked in all their stuff. So now we're like, ooh, do we wanna wait another month or get this done quicker? So that's why we were like, do we not do any of these corners over here on Bay Point, just do one corner, or do we do them all? So that's why it's that $1,700. Do we wanna wait 2 or 3 more months? We can work with the budget, but we're gonna have to wait to them come back with a new plan.
I understand all.
Okay.
I have a thought on that. We have 3 budget accounts: landscaping, maintenance, general, flowers, annuals, and mulch and sod. And we haven't spent a dime of that all year. How much of this beautification would happen typically in budget? You know what I'm saying? How much of it, if we wouldn't have done this beautification project, we still would have done to those areas?
You know, the landscape budget used to be really high when, at the very beginning, years ago. But it dwindled because they weren't doing as much, and then the beds were getting bigger, but they weren't replacing the stuff that's in there. So now the beds are big, but now a lot of the stuff in there's dead, and it's just so overwhelming and so big that we haven't been using them, because you would have to use a lot of annuals to
Right.
put into this very small bed when it needed other refreshing. So this just kind of consolidates everything.
James, to put that into context, I think when we proposed this 12K, and correct me if I'm wrong looking at the budget, is that not the 12K that's outlined in those areas of the budget that you're referring to? When I made the 12K recommendation, was I think with that in mind.
Is there another spot in here?
Yeah, like how much money are you talking about?
It's not 12K.
How much is
It
it?
is. It's 14 and a half when you include all of the,
Convictions.
14 and a half.
And we haven't spent any of it?
No, actually, today is 0 on all of it.
Alright, okay, so I mean, we've got 3 more months. What, no, we've got November, December, 5 more months
Yeah.
for the budget.
Yeah.
With the expectation that this money that we're talking about for the spot repairs is basically going to exhaust the budget that we have in which areas, James?
Landscape maintenance, general, flowers and annuals, and mulch and sod.
Okay.
And we're already over budget on, well, that's not true. Not over budget yet because it's only half the year. Irrigation and tree maintenance.
I expect that we're gonna go over.
And irrigation's
Yeah.
not included in the
Yeah,
landscape,
we're
correct?
tracking that.
Yeah.
And I'm also tracking the need to ensure that irrigation is repaired in order to support the money that we're spending on landscaping like that. We're good with that.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay, so just to be clear, it's my expectation that we're not going to be spending more money on mulch, perennials, annuals, etc.
No,
Because
this
we're
is
making this
just,
spot maintenance landscaping thing.
So this 13,179 will be it for the year?
13,789.
And
13,079?
it'll be that and then the contracted rate per month,
Which is budget.
which is budgeted.
13,789.
That was just my point is if we
Yeah.
don't spend, if we just do the 12 grand and we don't spend it, are we gonna be?
Are we gonna need
We're just
more
gonna
money
get
at
to
the end of the year?
No,
No.
we're getting to the end of the year and it's
So,
like,
what I need, Terry, what I need you to do is communicate with Jennifer and North Florida that this is it, right? They're not gonna get more money for mulch or whatever.
Right.
Perennials, flowers, etc. And then in November, December time, when we take a look at 2020's budget, will be the point when we can decide what additional mulch perennials we do for next year.
yeah, cause I, you know, they had in there like putting shrubs in other areas and stuff like that. So this is just strictly focusing on what we already have rather than creating something new that, you know, isn't there. So, and then we suggested we wanted all the extra pine straw on Tiger Creek Parkway put around the trees that normally falls for free than paying for pine straw to be put around there or mulch put around the trees and stuff like that. But we have stressed to them that irrigation has to work before we start with any of this other stuff.
Would you like to put it to a vote?
I motion to approve the amended figure for, this, landscape improvement initiative, the $13,789.
Second.
Alright, then it's a thing. I will probably not be president much longer. If I remain president, like, it is very much my intent, my mission, and my passion to support the committees and support the work that's being done out there. I need the chairs, and Terry, you as the volunteer coordinator, to support me, and when the board makes a vote, to stand by that.
Say again?
He's like, shut up, Terry, don't talk no more.
Yeah.
We voted to approve a 12,000 budget with the promise that was made by the landscaping committee that they could support that and execute the 12,000. And for them to come back to me a month and a half later and be like, we messed up, we need 14,000. I'm like, that's not what we said. You know what I'm saying? And it is a lot, right? Need to put that out there. Let's take a look at our website. All right. So last meeting we got together and we talked about a website. This is what I put together. Initially, this will be the landing site you'll see as you go to the ccppoa.com website. This is the homeowner portal. Click right here. You'll get this little drop down. This is a video that kind of explains what TOPS 1 is about. No, you don't need to do that. And what we have down here is a sign up. So in order to be able to register and log into TOPS 1, we need to confirm everybody's a homeowner within CCPPOA. So the first time you access this, we'll need you to put in your registration information, including your homeowner address. Submit that. That'll go to Gina. Gina will confirm that, and then she will send out a registration code, which you can then use to click here, and that'll bring you to TOPS 1. Once you go to TOPS 1, you won't have an account yet because you'll still need to create one. And this confirmation code is what I'm talking about right here. So this is the bit that Gina will create and then email to homeowners once they're confirmed homeowners for CCPPOA.
Is that a permanent number we have to remember?
No.
Company code?
This is only for creating your account. Once you create your account, then you'll just, I'm just gonna back up right here. You'll use your email address and a password that you create to access TOPS 1.
Okay.
And TOPS 1 is gonna be our portal for all homeowner interaction for things like notifications, like if you wanna notify Gina of a maintenance issue, or the streets, or the lights, or et cetera, you can do that. If Gina has a notice for the homeowner, like, you know, your grass is too large, or too high, or dead spots, or whatever. Those are all things that Gina can notify the homeowner via the TOPS 1 portal. So Punchline, it's gonna greatly facilitate the communication back and forth between the HOA, Gina as our conduit, and homeowners. So I think most specifically, it'll provide us better means of tracking and documenting all this stuff. Please.
I'm here today because I wanted to find out where the meeting is. I would suggest that when you have with the date of the meeting, that you put where it's going to be held, instead of saying, click here for instructions.
That's good feedback.
Yeah, because.
Sherry, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
okay.
yeah, because it's, why not put it in one place?
I do a lot of stuff on my phone, and I went to the TOPS thing, but it wouldn't fit on my screen. Is there something on my phone that I need to change so that way I can see how to fill in a blank?
No, are you talking about this tops thing?
Yes,
Fit in your
see
screen?
right there where it says the information I'm supposed to fill out? I can't see, it's like really small,
Did you
so
try turning your phone to the side?
yeah, and so I just didn't know if, that you should only do this on your,
Yeah, I use my iPad.
You can on your phone, if you go to the hamburger menu, the little 3-dot menu,
yeah,
and you tell it full web view. So you're psyching your phone, because your phone is viewing it as an app, you know, as a sub-app, but I think you should be able to go to full web view. It's gonna make everything super tiny, but you'll be able to zoom in and zoom out and.
I know, but I don't have that on there, so
Alright,
I'm just curious, you know, cause that means, oh my goodness, now I'm gonna have to log on to my computer. Okay.
This is an iPhone, so I don't know. Yeah, I gotta.
They don't know how to tell me to do it.
Never mind.
So I didn't know if it said it would be easier, or if you could put a note saying, you know, if you're on your mobile device, something, I don't know. Have you had problems doing it on your mobile device?
I turned my mobile device to the side, was able to see it.
Okay,
It's-
I'm gonna check, go ahead, I'm
Is
sorry to
yours
interrupt.
not showing up?
It fits in there, it's just cuts off some of that box, the sign-in box.
Yeah.
But if you show it as a desktop site, like you said, then it fits all in there.
For context, right, as a web designer, you kind of have to recognize that, you know, different screens show websites differently, and you can't make a website for every single screen out there, right? 'Cause
But I
that's,
think once you sign up, you won't have that issue anymore.
yeah, and that's a fact. Cause then you'll be able to click on that, go direct, or you could just go directly to the Tops One website, which the email that you will receive from Gina will have the link for it. And Terry, this is for a particular note for you. So you received an email from a homeowner interested in a particular
Actually,
particular committee, and context not important. This is where that comes from. So when a homeowner comes to the website, they can fill this out, that will email you and me directly. So Gina, no longer will you have to forward those emails. Let's see. And then property improvements, homeowners can go directly here and then see the covenants that we're talking about.
I think you need to turn the lights off so we can see a little better. Or maybe, or is it just me? Ah, that's a little better.
Give it a presentation.
All right, really, I was just trying to do a quick overview, because I just wanted everybody to know that I had made these changes and that we're moving forward in this direction. So homeowners now will be able to submit a request directly from the website. This will take you to our tracker, which Bob will talk to when he returns in our next meeting. But this is the new platform that we use in order to submit all our requests. Any questions for me in regards to the website? Our last meeting. So what I'll do is, when we're done with this meeting, I will post this to the website so that homeowners can review the meeting. Look, lots of HOA committee positions are available. All right, that's all I got. Can we get the lights back up?
Yes, please, I can't see my.
Bob is unfortunately not here. Ivy Lake's property sale opportunity. So let's discuss that. Bob and I had talked maybe about 4 or 5 months ago in regards to the common property, and I think this is something that we've addressed on and off kind of briefly in board meetings. I had reached out to a real estate agent that specifically handles commercial real estate. She had given us a quote for the Ivy Lakes common area property in terms of $40,000-ish. And these are parcels that are probably like 1/8 of an acre, maybe half an acre. They're not huge. And when I had seen that, I think I was a little surprised. I think Bob was a little surprised. The vision as I understood it, as we had discussed it, was that we were gonna offer these parcels to homeowners in terms of, and you know, this is open to discussion the way forward. I think the vision had been maybe like 10,000, something far cheaper than 40,000. Having discussed it with Melissa, who is the commercial real estate agent, she had brought to my attention the inherent value that a homeowner will receive when you almost double the amount of property that their home is on, right? So in that context, I can appreciate how, you know, half an acre of land on what currently a half an acre of land for, you know, most of the homes are probably between 200,000 and 400,000. Yeah, okay, I get it. The discussion that we need to have is based on the evaluation that we received from the real estate agent. Do we want to proceed? How do we want to proceed? And at what price do we want to proceed?
I got a question about the land that you're talking about. Because like, are we talking about like that little corner right there by Cunningham Creek that's behind the white fence?
That's
Well,
one of them, but it's
yeah,
not.
That's a little common area.
So specifically, we had decided, and there were 5, I think, that we received from the developer
I have-
initially. And I wanna say we paid what, like 5,000 each, or we paid something
Yeah, no.
fairly insignificant.
Which, is it the one on the lake, Ivy Lakes, or is it
Yes,
the
so
one,
there were
the
3,
chunk in the middle?
so there were 5 total.
Yeah.
Bob and I discussed it, and we decided that we were gonna start off with the 3 on Ivy Lakes, just as kind of a way to determine the way forward.
It's just a strip on your side.
So we're talking specifically about the Ivy Lakes one, though I suspect it'll hold true for the other properties as well.
This one, probably.
I mean, the only reason I'm asking is who benefits from
Yeah.
that? Are you saying that everybody in the association can
No.
bid on that property, or is it
That's another thing that we need to discuss.
just the adjacent homeowner?
Well, I think that that's something that we need to discuss.
Because I mean, I kind of see a conflict of interest with this adjacent homeowner, because like that little corner that I'm talking about on Tiger Creek, there's a board member that lives right there that backs right up against it.
Okay.
That would kind of be a conflict of interest.
Don't disagree with that.
You know where I'm talking about? Right,
I know.
right across from the playground at Cunningham Creek.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah,
behind the
you're
white
talking
fence,
about
there's a chunk of property
triangle.
that goes through
Right.
4 houses.
Yeah,
Right
and
there.
I don't know that that's one of the ones that
It's
we
on this
wanna
list,
sell.
but.
Because
The white
my
fence is in
understanding
front of it.
is that that property is currently being used, like if the fire department needs to go back to the woods.
Oh, no, not that.
Not that one.
No. Yeah, there, the one that's referenced to is right there at
Right here.
Alazon.
This is
in
the one that he's
Bridgestone.
talking about.
That's what you're talking about?
Yeah,
That's it, yeah.
yeah. that's
It's
the
behind the
one.
white fence, you can't see it, but if you look over the white fence, the
And only
back of
4
the property
neighborhoods
is
are
another
able
one.
to utilize it. It's
It was-
behind that white fence, and I understand aesthetically, the white fence having to make that jog just so that we could say that's common property would look ugly, but, you know,
I don't know.
that's a quarter of an acre right there.
And one homeowner could buy that?
There's 4
That's-
homeowners that back up against it.
Right, so
Yeah.
how many
So
homeowners
there's a
would be
home
sold?
there, right? There's a home there.
Right.
Those ones are there. And so they got the white fence.
I think that their fence in the backyard stops on their
Stops
property,
at
so
that,
that is
yeah.
just like
A barren
a
area.
rat feeding ground.
But actually, if you look at it on Google, it looks like people have been riding motorcycles and bikes back there.
I don't know how they could
How'd
get
they
to
get
it.
there?
Well,
Jump
the
the
homeowners
fence.
good.
No,
Homeowners kids good.
they have fence and they're all adults.
I don't know the people that live in there, I don't know.
So,
Again, I'm a perceptions reality kind of person.
I agree that if there were a board member who lived adjacent to that had first right of refusal, that could definitely be a conflict of interest in regards to.
James, is your
his
house
vote.
there? No, that board member is not on the board anymore, she
Yep.
moved.
I took her spot.
Okay.
Oh, so you still, if you took her spot, then you're a board member?
Yeah, but I'm on
Oh,
Baylow, but I'm down.
you took her board member
Yeah.
spot, not her
No,
house?
not her house.
Okay, well, I think the
I
reason.
moved in, and then 2 months later, she said, I'm moving, and Terry said, congratulations, you're.
Okay, I think that when I was there with the original discussion, I don't know if I was on board or not, but the point was that if you own that property, you're gonna have to maintain it. And we figured that people was adjacent to it'd be easiest for them to maintain.
That's fair.
And therefore that they should be given first right of refusal. Now, if they're gonna get it for so much and somebody else says, well, I'll bid $5,000 more, then, or $2,000 more, then you've got another problem.
How we execute that is gonna be the challenge.
Who would wanna buy that if they live adjacent to it?
People
Uh,
that,
I
That's
don't
right.
know, I don't know who
Yeah.
would
So,
buy it.
I mean,
yeah.
so,
I'm saying
well,
that.
well, let's
I mean,
ask this better question, let's ask this better question, if we were to sell this property for 5,000, knowing that it's worth 40,000, who wouldn't wanna buy it?
so if I
But
bought
you can't
it,
do anything.
could I
with
put
it.
my camper
I
on it?
mean,
You can't build on it, you can't do anything
You
to
could,
it.
And
right,
access it
right, if
unless
you
you're
put it behind a
adjacent.
fence.
You could, yeah, and you have to maintain it.
But you can't get to it.
You could build on
No.
Only if you could get permission, because you can't build a house on it. And I don't,
and-
lot
and-
sizes and the
No.
color design.
Yeah, and one of the things that Bob and I had discussed in regards to these properties was, writing the sale in such a way to ensure that the current common area was rezoned, reallocated, like replotted, I guess, whatever, to the new homeowner's plot, so that it then became one plot, does that make sense?
I mean, are you
Yes.
talking about like the area behind the Bridgestone sign at the end of Tiger Creek?
That was
No.
the fire.
That's
That's
not one of the areas you're talking about?
Which parcels are we talking about selling?
It's on the paper there.
Just three?
Right, but there's.
We're now-
Currently, just the three in Ivy Lakes.
There's several
Just the
other
three in
ones
Ivy
on the
Lakes,
property.
okay.
Yeah, there's one of them on Bridgestone.
That one's not-
sign.
That's,
Or wells
that's one of the
there.
ones.
And
that-
The
those
one
are
with the
worth
two
three?
strips on the
Never
side of the
sold that.
lake.
That's the wells on that.
Yeah, we should put a sidewalk through it, huh?
I mean, that's a
The other side did a
good
sidewalk.
property right there. I mean, for if you own a
Yes,
house
see,
next
but
to
they
it.
did.
Well, and then I had-
them.
Yeah, this
We're
one's
not
big.
going that way.
So when she
But this
said-
was also one of the ones that Bob and I specifically discussed would be beneficial for us to not be responsible for, just because of where
That's
it's
the
located.
one on the corner of Muskogee and
Yep.
Cunningham.
Yes.
Yes.
And this is part of this particular lot was part of the reason why we wanted to start with Ivy Lakes.
So when she said 40,000, she was just talking about those three, or was she talking about?
Yes,
all
I
five?
only gave her the lot numbers for those three, so I don't know if the other ones are valued more or less, and, 40,000 is a ballpark, I mean, she gave me
Right,
very
right.
specific numbers that
What
I
are
don't
the
have to
other two?
reference.
There's one where it's a strip on both sides of the lake.
Let's see,
Right by Bob's house?
this one here,
This piece.
yeah, this is opposite of, Kernan Mill.
Most of this is lake, right? That's a lake there. So the property's here and the property there.
If you're interested in some lakeside property, this would be an ideal
Okay,
location.
so that leads to the subdivision
I mean,
work
this
behind
almost-
Celebration, which the developer, he built Cunningham Creek, but he also built that one, so that was probably a cut through. Randy Towers built that.
Isn't that right
Is
there
this,
by
is
Village
this in
Green
the
by Bob's
woods?
house?
Is this the woods right here?
Isn't that,
No, I think that's the
No, that's grass.
back of some.
oh, never mind, that's
That's
not
all
what I'm
grass.
thinking of.
Yeah.
And it goes right over
That's
to
a house.
Celebration, that,
Yeah, there's
community,
a house over here.
Goes to the church.
where the
This
church
This
is.
is property, and then the other neighborhood is over there.
Yeah.
Why
Correct.
don't you ever take me when you go walking? Alright.
This is under your right, this is Ivy Lake. This is you, this is you. Down the street.
Alright, yeah. One. Is this the, looks like we only have two of the three that we targeted.
Yeah.
For context. Alright, so. Do we wanna proceed? Does it make sense to sell?
yeah, for two reasons. Number one, it's no longer our problem.
Concur.
And the other is whatever we get from it, it's money we don't have anyway. We wouldn't have, we
Okay.
could use it.
What taxes do we pay on that?
We don't, as a nonprofit, we don't pay taxes.
So, and do we cut the grass on those?
Yeah, what's gonna cost you?
We do on one, but do we cut it on that little lakefront?
Probably not that lake.
No.
Are we nonprofit with tax exempt, or are we just nonprofit? Because the park is nonprofit, but it's not tax exempt.
Why are you not tax exempt? Let's sidebar on that later.
Okay.
We are tax exempt.
Okay.
So, makes sense to sell. Does it make sense to sell and at what price point? So does it make sense to sell for 40,000?
Would you buy it for
Would you
40?
buy it for 40,000 if it was beside your house?
Yeah, if he was gonna turn around and sell his house right away,
Right.
then he could get it, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if I thought that I was gonna sell, yeah, I would pay the 40,000. If I thought I was gonna stay there,
No.
probably not. Me personally.
Yeah, I think most people would be that way. I mean, if they could afford that much more to spend 40,000 for more lot, they would have bought a bigger house.
Or who's to say that someone that doesn't live in the association buys it?
Let's jump off the who train next. Right now, let's talk about cost. So, fellas,
Maybe just offer
What are your
it to the
thoughts?
homeowner.
I think it's gonna be dependent on the property.
Don't offer to the public.
I mean, depending on the access and things like that, if it substantially
You can't do
increases
anything with it.
the property size like that slot there, then it should be more of a premium versus ones where it's just a strip and,
well, fair market is $40,000. I mean, that's what we
Well,
were
yeah,
told.
for-
estimated. I mean, I'm just saying, on something like that, we have to get more precise on that, but.
Are we limiting the sale to
Yeah,
the
but-
adjacent property owner?
Well, first I wanna talk about what the value, or what we should sell for, and then
The
we'll talk about
value,
who.
I think the value is, if I'm not mistaken, is what somebody will pay for it. And I don't think most people would pay 40,000. I mean, right? I mean, if you can't sell it for 40, it doesn't have that value.
Okay. With that in mind,
That'd be the offer price.
right,
And negotiate.
we could do that, and we can negotiate. But the challenge is that if we're offering it, so then the next question is the who. So if hypothetically speaking, we start off with an offer of 40,000, and we provided, first right of refusal to homeowners that are adjacent to the property, how do we proceed if they decline? Do we then offer it to the entire community at 40,000 and then scale back? So,
No, I mean, I don't know what anybody would do with it if
Boat
it wasn't
storage.
adjacent to their.
Car storage, boat storage, throw a fence up.
Would the adjacent homeowners have a problem with someone else owning it? Because.
I don't think they have a right to have a problem with it if they decline to buy it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but you're right, they put up a 6-foot
Yeah,
fence
when they
and
bought it,
put
it
their
was-
boat in there, and maybe put somebody
It
else's
was
boat in
our
too.
community's property. Maybe they'll have I don't know, a complaint that said if some
Or they might
Joe
wanna
Blow
split
buys
it.
it and sticks a trailer on it or something, they may say, my property value's been affected and I'm gonna sue the committee or something. I don't know.
Are they
I-
gonna
I-
be part of the homeowners association if they buy the property that's not adjacent to it? Will they have to pay dues, being in the
Oh.
homeowners association, and
Are you talking about if the adjacent owner
if the
purchased?
adjacent owner doesn't
No.
do,
If somebody
Yeah,
outside of the
I don't know what
community
you do.
purchased,
yeah,
then they would have to, right? I mean,
Yeah.
But,
I mean, cause the covenant says 660 homes, are they gonna say 661?
660 and a
here's where I
half.
stand on this.
Yeah.
I don't think that we need to sell it. Should sell it? I don't think that we need to sell it for 40,000. I also think that we have a fiduciary responsibility to the community at large. So I don't think it's, I mean, it's easy for us to sit here and say, well, I mean, we bought it for 5, let's sell it for 5. I don't know that that's right if the land is really worth 40,000. The easy thing would be to sell it for 5, but I don't think that that's the right thing to do. So in my mind, somewhere between 5,000 and 40,000 is the right answer.
I think it would be based on square footage at that point.
And perhaps the neighbors on each side would, but like one will to pay, they'll split it. However, like if, like they only want this much more, the other one wants this much more. As long as you get what you think is reasonable.
Rezone the whole, both plots, three spaces at that point.
My intent is for whatever the cost of rezoning, replotting, whatever that
They pay,
required, the homeowner that's gonna buy the plot will have to pay. for the
unless
cost.
they give us the 40,000.
Or, but
Either way, they'll
but
be
not
paying.
necessarily if it's not an adjacent owner, right, or a buyer.
Yeah, and it had been part of the
Yeah.
vision that it was gonna be an adjacent
Right,
owner.
right, ideally.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't think it should be sold to adjacent property.
You think it should be or should?
It should, if we're gonna
Only?
sell it, it can only be bought by adjacent.
Yeah. So the challenge with that is that if we go in and we say, okay, $20,000, and they're like, nah, I'm not really trying to pay 20,000. What position do we have then to negotiate? Well, how about 15? Nah, okay, 10. Nah. I mean, at what point, we don't have a position to negotiate if we don't offer it to other homeowners, or we could just say, take it or leave it at whatever price we establish.
It's so awful keeping it.
No.
Yeah, we should, before we bought it, what we should have done was see if these people will buy it, the adjacent neighbors will buy
I
it.
mean, is one of those areas, I'm sorry,
I'm finished.
is one of those areas between Bridgestone and Ivy Lakes, that little walk through, is that one of the areas you're talking about?
No, no.
Okay, I'm thinking of
They're
that.
right, I mean, you're welcome to take a peek at them, they're right here.
So you had asked about the cost of ownership, so really, it just comes down to the liability that the HOA incurs just by virtue of owning the property if something were to happen on it.
And maintaining it, we've gotta have the grass.
Right. Well, I mean, we're already maintaining private property around the lakes.
Yeah.
We should maintain my total grass
Is that
around the lake.
expensive?
We're doing it.
What's the cost of maintaining this property? You know?
I mean, it's not really,
In the scheme of things.
we're talking about, like, there's a cost associated with that, but I suspect if we sell these properties and then we no longer maintain these properties, I mean, would we get a discount on our landscaping? Probably not.
No, right.
So I don't think the cost is
So
necessarily
what's
the
the benefit
maintenance.
to us to selling that?
Well, there's no benefit to us holding on to them, and then if we would sell it, we would no longer have the liability and we would have the cash based on that. So what I would argue is that although there's no benefit to holding on to it, there's also no urgency to sell it. So we have time to make the right decision, bounce it around. You know, I certainly wouldn't suggest that this needs to be now. But this has been on the agenda for at least the last couple of meetings, and I wanted to have a discussion about it since there wasn't much on the agenda tonight.
Couple of years, isn't it, by now?
At least a year, at least a year. So I remember even talking about, well, so we got the well here, right?
Yeah, the one by,
And now we have a path that lets people come and go from that neighborhood there.
yeah, the kids,
I
school
don't
kids.
think that this is one we wanna sell either.
No, definitely not with the
The
well.
original paper,
Right,
but
right.
we,
This one's at the dead end at Tiger Creek at the Bridgestone. You got the Bridgestone sign here, the well's right behind it.
Yeah.
And then this has been a cut through. Used to be when people from the other community were zoned for
So what
Cunningham
happened
Creek
to our wells
Elementary.
then if we sold it?
We were
Well,
gonna sell it.
that's not up for sale.
What, was one of the areas right there by Allison?
Yes, there is
Right
another
there, that little
one.
wooded area
Yeah.
where kids ride their bikes?
Yeah, yep,
I
and
mean,
that's,
just embrace that, make it a little kid bike park.
well,
I mean,
We have
people have
talked about-
skateboard parks,
yeah, we talked about like the parcel over in Ivy Lakes. Like, that could be a tot lot or something, you know, put a couple picnic tables, put a smaller scaled down version of a little playground of
I
sorts.
mean, I'd rather see the kids out fishing and biking and doing things that kids are supposed to do than because they don't have anything that they can do, they do things that they're not supposed to do.
So we're gonna table this.
Yeah, I don't know that we're gonna come to an answer tonight.
Not tonight, but we know we're getting more information, we got a lot more dialogue to go.
Anybody
As
have
far
any
as on that
thoughts?
topic.
Any other?
It's a tough one.
So here's what I would like, when we get back together in October, let's have some finite ideas as to the way forward in regards to this property. I will provide the specifics in terms of the properties and the evaluations that we were provided. And we just need to, we need to come up with a way forward.
I just had a thought, you know, if you're gonna put a tot lot or something for people to play on, you tell the homeowners either one or two of you, either you both buy it and split it, or whatever, otherwise we're going to make a little playground here. So, you know, do I want kids playing next door to me? They might decide to buy it.
Have we even reached out to those homeowners and asked them if they were interested?
Well, I don't wanna do that until we have a decision as to how we're gonna
Bob
do this.
may,
We have,
way back when.
yes, Bob and I did to the homeowner that's on Muskogee and Kernan Mill, cause they expressed an interest in it.
Yeah, in fact, there were a couple that had reached out to us, is that
That's
right?
the only one I know of,
Where was that?
oh, at least 2 years ago.
Probably when we started all the
Mhm.
things and getting pricing on it.
And that's the last item on the agenda.
Go home.
Anybody have anything else? Call the meeting to adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, you know what, it's a nice beginning to the, website. Really is.
I need to do a few more things.
Oh, yeah, it's a nice beginning, yeah, I put down where the meeting's gonna be.
They're off to a good start.
There's a lot of potential.
That's
Thank you for that. I'll make that change.
No.
Yeah, I see what
It's
you're
in my
saying.
binder when Bob gave it to me.
I forget why I didn't. There was a reason, there was a formatting reason why I didn't.
Because I don't see that well, see the magnifying glass around my neck? I don't see that well, and I stopped to look at the sign, there's a car behind me, and I'm sure it says the library.
But then.
So I go there, and nobody's there. So then I open up my phone, and I put it on my iPad, I open up my phone, and it says, click here, for how to get there, so click there.
And it gives you directions, and it was right
Yeah,
here.
but I don't need directions to the library, I'm looking at the library, you know, to tell me where it is, and then click if I need directions.
Yeah,
But I was sure that's only signs in library.
Before, and if they didn't.
Yes, thanks.
Oh, it's gonna be
So
so
why? So this person advised it.
Nobody's
I
cutting.
mean, like, you know, this person.